Everyone hits a bump in the road. What do you do with it? Be inspired as we explore the ways people experience, navigate, and manage the ups and downs and twists and turns in this road trip called life. Welcome to another episode of Bump in the Road. The basic podcast is always free. We also have a premium subscription called Bump 2 that lets you listen in on extended behind-the-scenes conversations with our guests. Check it out at www.bumpintheroad.us. June Edwards is a fascinating woman. Her life has not been easy, but her path, which includes a near-death experience, has led her to become an author and medium. Her recent book is All's Fair in Love and Karma. Please welcome June to Bump in the Road. June, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Sure. I'm June Edward. I was born with a lot of psychic ability and apparently mediumship ability that I wasn't aware of as a child. And as a child, it's a very frightening thing when you wake up in the morning and you hear someone calling your name and you think it's your parents and they're fast asleep. And then you start seeing faces in your bedroom and see people standing around. And I tried to block my abilities as much as I could growing up. And I was very interested in it, however, most of my life. I was really one of these people that analyzes everything. And if I couldn't see it, feel it, and touch it, then it couldn't be real, right? But through my journey, I've realized that there's a lot of things that we don't necessarily see that are absolutely real. We breathe air every day and we don't see it. There's microwaves cooking our food, but we can't see them. And everything in the universe is made of energy, and our soul is pure energy. And you can't destroy energy. You can only change it or make it, right? So this is what I've been seeing all my life, is energy and souls. So I died when I was 27 by a medical accident, and I literally went to heaven. Never heard the term near-death experience until literally a year or two ago. I had no idea what it was. And even now, I never considered it a near-death experience because I knew I died. And apparently, it's the scientists that have called it a near-death experience because they haven't been able to quantify it. And once they do, they won't call it near-death anymore because they'll understand you're dead. But it was an amazing experience. It was something that I really couldn't even talk about for a long time because I would get so emotional and just start crying because it's just amazing on the other side. And there's only two things that you take with you. You take with you, and I had a great conversation this morning during my meditation. It's not really love and knowledge that we're taking with us. We're taking our feelings and our knowledge with us because love is a feeling. Our emotions are an expression of that feeling when we have a body, but we're taking our feelings with us to the other side because there's still souls that I bring through that are hurt or angry. And if we're feeling hurt or angry on this side, then that's how they're feeling on the other side. So it's actually our feelings that we're taking with us with our knowledge. And I was given a full life review, which apparently less than 10% of the people that do have an NDE get to that level. And it was like an IMAX movie, but playing out in front of me. And it was all of the important times in my life, the people that made a difference, the people that I loved. And the closest I can give you for a feeling is being wrapped in a warm blanket of love on a cold winter day. It's just amazing on the other side. And then I remembered my children. And I remembered that one of the biggest reasons that I came here was for my children. And as soon as I decided that I was coming back, I was immediately back in my body. And yes, I could see everything that was happening everywhere at the same time. I could see everything in the hospital happening. I could see the nurses in the hallway talking, the crash cart, the paddles, the IV, you name it, I saw it. But they did tell me on the other side that it was not my time. I could stay if I wanted to, or I could come back. And that doesn't happen to a lot of people. And what I've learned since is that we do plan this life. And when people have very difficult lives, like I had planned for myself, we actually write an out that we could take. And that was an out that I had written into my life. Taking your own life is never an out that's written into your life, just so you're aware. That's like quitting the game. You can't do that. So I did come back, and you would think at that point in time that my abilities would have really opened up like crazy, but they didn't. And the reason for that, I've learned, is because I still had a lot of things that I had to go through and learn so that I would be able to help the people that I help now. It's the old adage that you have to walk a mile in someone's shoes to be able to understand their journey. And there's not much that I haven't been able to go, they haven't gone through in my life. So there are very few people that I'm not relating to, quite honestly. There's pretty much everything. I wrote my autobiography for that reason, because too many people are playing the poor me card. And, if you only been what I've been through. Really? Yeah, okay, I've been there, done that.
What are some of the biggest bumps you've been through?
Oh, my God. I'm one of 8 children. I was born to parents who were much older. They hadn't been able to have children for the first 10 years of their marriage. My mom was 45 when my youngest son was born, and he's younger than me. So she was 40 when I was born. And they were very abusive parents. And people live what they learn, and they only know what they're taught unless they teach themselves differently. And they were physically abusive, mentally abusive, sexually abusive. They were both also hoarders. They grew up during the Depression. They didn't throw anything out. So, you walk through your house on a little path. Hopefully you don't fall off. Never knew when food was coming or a meal was coming, and scavenged outside for food and went to other people's homes to eat. And they were on welfare for a long time. And then my dad kidnapped the youngest 5 of us when I was 10, and told us that our mom threw us out and that she was crazy, which was not the case. She was aware that there was a lot of sexual abuse going on in the home and had a mental breakdown, basically. And he threatened her and just kidnapped us. So then we had to kind of learn how to drag each other up, is what I say. The younger 4 went to camp and got to play a little bit, and I had to go to cooking school and learn how to take care of the 4 under me. So I had to grow up quick. And at that time, there was a woman that used to come and keep me company when I do the dishes at night and talk to me, which I really appreciated. And I thought everybody saw her, quite honestly. And I asked my brother one day, my older brother, who she was, and he started laughing at me and told me that she was the woman that died in the house. Her husband killed her. And I was so scared. She must have felt it, because she never came back again.
Wow.
Yeah. And I also ended up, my father owned a business at that time. So I also started working at 10 years old. For the summers, I worked full time. And of course, I had the crappiest jobs there were. I started out as a waitress, and people complained I was too young to be serving people in a restaurant. So they put me in the kitchen, and I had to learn how to he was one of the original donut shops, so I had to learn how to fry and finish donuts and work the night shifts until I could work the day shifts again. And of course, I got the 4 o'clock in the morning shift that nobody wanted. But I was fortunate enough that I had met someone, a boy, young, he was much older than me. And when social services found out, of course, the crap hit the fan, and we had to have an escort with us whenever we went anywhere. But he was very straight and narrow, no drugs, no alcohol, no nothing, just a hard worker. And I'm grateful for that, because otherwise, who knows what I would have gotten tangled up in. And got married, got pregnant by somebody that I didn't want in my life, and was afraid to have to face the family and my father with, "I told you so, I told you you're no good." And had an abortion, which I wish I'd never had, but I did. And then got married, met who I thought was a wonderful guy at the time, got married, had trouble getting pregnant, got pregnant with triplets and lost 2, ended up with 1. But God gives you Doesn't give you more than you can handle is the bottom line.
A question. If we plan this life for ourselves, do you have any insight into why you planned this life for yourself?
Sure. Like I said, if I hadn't gone through everything that I've been through, I wouldn't be able to help anybody else, would I? I know what they're going through when they make these decisions. And even that soul that came through here and was only here for a short period of time knew that. They knew they weren't going to be here for a long time. I see them and I can talk to them on the other side. And for a long time, I thought I was being punished and couldn't have children, couldn't get pregnant because I did that. And a lot of people must feel that way. It's a terrible decision to have to make, and we make it for different reasons. And we're young. What do we know, right? We're not 60 years old making these decisions. We're young kids, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe don't have anybody else counseling us. There's no book that pops out when you're born saying how to raise a child or how to live your life. You have to kind of navigate it your own way. And what I found are the people that have the more difficult lives are here with the higher purposes. I've met people that have very easy lives. They've worked in the same factory their entire life. They've been married to the same person the entire time. They work 9 to 5. They take 2 weeks vacation. They're happy to sit and watch, reruns of Archie Bunker at night. And that's it. This is what they came here for. An easy peasy existence. And that's fine. That's fine. That's what they chose to come here for. But what I've found is more advanced souls choose a more difficult path because we're teaching our souls while we're here. We learn faster here than we do on the other side, and we are all here to help each other. That's one of the biggest reasons we come here. We come here for a mini vacation. We come here to pay back karma and to collect our karma and learn our 5 soul lessons, but we also come here to help each other. No one is an island. No one gets through this alone. And you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be enjoying it with each other. This is what it's all about. And we forget that. We forget those things. But I do believe that's why I have had a much more difficult life than most. And as I look back and got through things, it made me who I am. Every experience I went through made me who I am. Love me, hate me, I don't care. I love who I am. I'm very happy with who I am right now. And it gives me an amazing amount of fulfillment when I can help someone else that comes to me and is having difficulty here and needs answers. And everybody can't give them the answers that I can give them. Everyone can't connect them with the souls on the other side that I can connect them with. A lot of times we bring things through lifetime to lifetime because we reincarnate many, many times. And we reincarnate as men, women, black, brown, makes no difference. It really depends on what you want to experience in this lifetime. But you do bring through traits from each lifetime. And this is where Akashic Records come in, which is your book of life. Every religion talks about a book of life. And your book of life is kept in the Akashic Record room, which is the lowest level of heaven in the 5th dimension. And I got there accidentally once and asked where I was, and they told me it was the Hall of Knowledge where everything's kept. And I'm like, I am all about learning. I was like, this is great. And they gave me my book of life to read. And it was just like when I had my life review. I took it into a side room and opened it, and it was a 3D movie again. It was amazing. And I am able to get there and read people's books and help them understand what's happening in this life, why. So one of the first thing I did is wanted to know in my past lifetime how I died, because I knew somehow I drowned in a past lifetime. I used to love to go swimming as a kid. And when I hit 12 years old, I suddenly panicked around water. I couldn't go underwater anymore, and I had no idea why. So I also love mushrooms, and my ex-husband used to love to go mushrooming, and I refused. If I didn't buy it in the store, I wasn't going to eat it, even though I'm a trained chef. And when I went back into my life, I found out that in a past life, I used to be the medicine woman that people would go to if someone in the village was sick, and I would mix up different things for them to take to make them better. And I had picked poison mushrooms, and I ended up killing a 12-year-old girl. And my penance for that was to tie rocks to me and throw me off a cliff into the river, and I drowned. And once I re-experienced that, it was like one gulp of water and my soul was shooting up. I wasn't afraid of water anymore. In fact, after we went through the session, it was just a deep meditation session that we were doing. And everybody asked me, we broke and we went for lunch, and I came back and they're like, what'd you do for lunch? I said, well, I went over to the mall. I said, did a little shopping. I actually bought 3 bathing suits. Didn't even make the connection. They start laughing. It was so funny. Didn't you make the connection? You just found out how you drowned and you went and bought 3 bathing suits. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. And you know how hard it is for a woman to buy a bathing suit, right? I didn't try any of them on, and one I literally took off the model, and every one of them fit when I got them home. It was crazy. Yeah. But since then, I go underwater. I've gone snorkeling. I tried scuba diving. I pick mushrooms out of the wild now. I know what they are. And it's amazing how you can heal something in this life based on what it is you're bringing through from your past life.
That's fascinating. It points to the fact that karma is very real. It's living and breathing, and we can have an impact on it.
So karma is when you've done something wrong to someone else and you have not made amends in this lifetime, then that's where you've created karma that you're going to owe that person in the next lifetime. That's how that works.
Does it ever play out in this lifetime?
So karma that's playing out in this lifetime is something that you owe from a past lifetime or someone that owes you from a past lifetime. So let's give a great example of that. Let's say you get married, things are going great, then you find out your significant other is cheating on you. It's got nothing to do with you to speak of specifically, okay? Unless you go back in the Akashic Records to prove that there was no cheating in a previous life, okay, and they really wanted to experience it in this life, which is extremely rare. 99% of the time, in a past life, it was a reverse role. You cheated on that person, and you want them to know what it felt like in this lifetime, okay? But it also plays a secondary role. Most of the time when there's cheating involved in that, again, it's got really nothing to do with you. It usually has to do with self-worth. And that's one of the 5 lessons that our soul has to learn while we're here is self-worth. And someone that does not have self-worth finds it hard to believe that someone else is going to really love them and want to be with them and not do something to them to hurt them. They can't open up to that person. That's usually the reason for it. And it doesn't mean a relationship has to end either. Once you understand the reasons why it happened, both of you, you can make amends, so there's no karma being carried forward in your next life with this person, and learn your communication, learn your self-worth, and have one of the strongest and best relationships ever.
You talk about the 5 love lessons, and that goes along with the sense that it's all about love. What are the 5 lessons?
So the first one is self-worth. Mm-hmm. And self-worth is not value. Value is what other people place on you. Self-worth is knowing that you, are the most important person. Look at you. You're the only one of you on this entire earth. How special are you that they needed you here? Think about that for a second. And it's not narcissistic, and it's not being selfish to put yourself first. It's where everything else comes from. If you're not here, you can't help anybody else, can you? And no one else can make you happy. That's an inside job. You have to make yourself happy. And then that ping-pongs off of everybody else. Okay? The next one is trust and communication. You have to trust, first of all, that there is a higher power. That there are no accidents in this world. Everything that happens for a reason. Nothing is ever being done to you. It's being done for you. And you have to also trust someone enough to communicate with them. You have to be able to communicate your wants and needs to another person. We just don't know by osmosis. It doesn't work that way. And then sex is just another form of communication. If you can't trust and communicate outside the bedroom, you're never going to be able to do it inside the bedroom, are you? Then you have unconditional love. Unconditional love is not playing the martyr and saying, I got to stay with my husband even though he beats me every day because I love him unconditionally. No, that's not what it means. It means saying, listen, we had a good run. It was wonderful while it lasted. I'll always love you. I want the best for you, but this is not working and it's not bringing me joy. So it's time to part ways. And on a bigger scale, let's say you had a child that you love and they do something horrific like murdering a neighbor in rage. They go to prison for the rest of their life. You don't like what the child did, but you still love that child unconditionally. Okay? Then you have money and balance. And money is energy. That's why it's called currency. And it's the tool that we use in this 3D life to show whether or not your life is in balance. Everything in the universe has to stay in balance. You have the yin and the yang, the day and the night, left and right, up and down. Everything has, evil and good, everything has to stay in balance. And money, like I said, is what we use to highlight it. So right now, you don't walk into a grocery store and plop down $1,000 for a bunch of bananas. You may in the future, but you don't right now. Because it's not an even exchange of energy. Whatever you do has to be that even exchange of energy. I have to laugh when people are like, oh, mediums should do their readings for free. It's a gift they were given. Yeah, everybody has the gift, buddy. But it's got to be an even exchange because otherwise you won't value the information that you've even received. And then people work too much, right? They work, they just want to make a lot of money. Well, when they're working those kind of hours just to make money, the whole rest of their life is going to be out of balance. They won't have time for their family, their friends, even for themselves. And then you're hoarding your money. You won't even spend it on yourself, right? You won't spend the fruits of your labor on yourself because you don't even value yourself enough, right? And that's when self-worth kicks back in because all of these lessons will intertwine and each one will reinforce the next one.
I want to go a little deeper in balance with good and evil. Where is there balance between good and evil? And why do we have to have evil?
Let me give you the last lesson first, and then I'll give you the good and evil. And the last lesson is patience. Okay. Mm-hmm. We live in a society of instant gratification where everybody wants everything right now. And that's not how it works. It's going to come to you in the time that you wrote it into your plan. So your soul is really, really big and doesn't fit into this body. Okay. We are not this suit in front of you is not the body. That's not who you are. You're the soul inside of here. Some of it's in your body. People talk about seeing an aura over your body. That's part of your soul. It's outside your body. And then most of your soul is in the lowest level of heaven, which is the fifth dimension. And that is what navigates the timing of the events that happen in your life. Okay, it happens when it's supposed to. And if it didn't work that way, how stupid would it be? Every little 6-year-old girl wants to get married and have little babies, right? She's got a baby doll. Well, would you want those stork delivering those? No. It happens when it's supposed to. So people have to remember that. So you also have to remember that, you know, everything in life, there's always this pendulum swinging back and forth. And if what I teach people is how to balance their energy. So law of attraction kicks in. We're magnets. You're always attracting or repelling. So every high, there's a low. So if your energy isn't balanced, people can't maintain the law of attraction. They'll bring stuff in and then they crash. Okay? You're in a good mood and then you crash. So when you're balanced, the highs aren't so high, the lows aren't so low. Now, what's happening in the world right now, it plays out in politics, just like money is what highlights our staying in balance. Power is played out in politics. And power is the root of evil. Power, not money, power. Okay? And that's what's playing out now. And it plays out, it's been playing out over and over and over because honestly, we're living in a movie. We are avatars. Okay? You chose to come down here and play a role and play a part for a while. And that's what we're doing. And the game that's getting played here, unfortunately, with good and evil is your soul. They all want your soul. God wants your soul. The devil wants your soul. That's what it's all about. And as much as, you know, there is a God, trust me, as much as he'll sit there and the universe will give you everything you want, I promise you, you will never live in lack if you trust that there's a higher power. You'll never go without. You'll always have everything you want and need. The devil will tell you the same thing, and he'll tell you, I'll give it to you faster.
Wow.
Patience.
If we're living in a simulation, what does that imply?
What do you mean? What does it imply? It means this is our vacation time. You know, when you're on the other side, your soul is thousands and hundreds of thousands of years old. Okay. I have met some new souls, not sure how they're created at this point. They haven't answered that question for me. But everybody's met the small child that's old beyond his years, and they'll know it's an old soul, right? Well, lots of old souls here. And when you're on the other side, you don't have a body. I found that we reincarnate about every 350 to 400 years of our time is when they reincarnate, because time really only exists here. But that's how often we come back for a mini vacation. We pop into a body for a while for some fun, because on the other side, you can't smell, you can't taste, you can't have sex, you can't do all those things that you can do in a body, okay? So people forget that we're here to have fun and enjoy as well. And they stop trusting as well. Think of a child that's born, right? And that child trusts you for everything. They know they're going to be fed, they're going to be changed, everything they need is going to be supplied for them, isn't it? And we forget that as they get older, because we just take that away from them. And even small children that come through still carry through a lot of the memories of their past lives and know why they're here. So it's interesting. I have the last 3 grandchildren I've been able to talk to when they were still, only a couple of months old, and ask them a few questions about why they're here and what they're going to do. And it's just so exciting.
How, at that young age, how do they communicate with you?
Mental telepathy. That's the same way everything happens. That's what your pineal gland is for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what's picking up all that's energy. Everything's energy. Think of a radio station. How are they listening to this right now? When a tree falls in the wood, does it make a sound? No, it makes an energetic vibration. There is no sound until something picks it up.
That's a really great way of looking at that old saying.
So the mental telepathy that comes through energetically is getting picked up by that pineal gland. And that's how you communicate. It's the same thing when I'm talking to souls from the other side. Some of them are really, really chatty, and I just let them talk right through me because I can't keep up. And other ones, they're just giving me symbols or one-word things, and I've got to play a charade game with them to find out what it is they want to talk about.
How can the average person encourage their pineal gland to be more active so that they increase their own sensitivity?
Well, first of all, you have to cut out fluoride. Fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. That's one of the reasons it's in your water. It's also a byproduct of heavy metals, and it's a poison, and they needed to get rid of it, so they started dumping it in the water supply to dilute it, figuring no one would know. And then, of course, the lovely politicians would be like, hey, we can have the government pay you for this and do a nice little kickback thing, and nobody's going to be any smarter, right? But it's also in your toothpaste. Okay, and your body's absorbing it constantly when you're drinking water that has it in there, because then it's in everything and it's in your toothpaste. So it's calcifying your pineal gland. So you have to get rid of that first. And friends of mine that have cut that out within weeks have noticed that they're able to connect a little bit better, and they're getting more mental telepathy. And there are other ways you can research it online on how to decalcify your pineal gland. My children all grew up with well water and then spring water, so I haven't drank water with fluoride in it for over 40 years, neither of my children, so they're all very psychic as well.
How do you define being psychic?
So we all have a brain in our head, right?
Hopefully.
Okay. Well, your brain is nothing more than a computer. Okay, it helps you process the information that you have. But your brain has a primary function. Your brain's primary function is to protect you. How does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So most people make their decisions based on fear. Think back of a time in your life where you made a decision where you just knew it was the right thing to do. You just knew it. Doesn't matter what it was, whether it was somebody you married or some decision you made, and you just knew it was the thing you were supposed to do. And it worked out fine. That's your soul. When you make a decision with your soul, Okay? It's the right decision 100% of the time. The difference is when you make it with your brain, it's a crapshoot. It works out half the time and you're always questioning yourself. When you make that decision with your soul, it works out all the time and you don't question yourself. So psychic ability is basically, it's another word for intuition, which is listening to your soul, is what it is. And when you're talking and picking up on other people, do you ever talk about somebody or think about them and all of a sudden they either showed up or called you on the phone?
Of course.
That's because thoughts are things. Where your thoughts go, your energy flows. Okay? It's energy. You're connecting with their soul. Your energetic soul is connecting with their energetic soul. That's your psychic ability. That's your soul.
Is listening to your soul in this world difficult? I mean, we kind of have this linear left brain path that we're quote unquote supposed to follow. You know, you go to school, you get married, you have your kids, you have the house in the suburbs, whatever whatever that path may be. I personally think we have to strip away a lot of the superfluous stuff that we carry around to get in touch with ourselves.
So what's interesting is, again, you have to have patience because the timing comes in, right? Maybe some people didn't choose to get in touch with their soul in this lifetime. Maybe their soul is not advanced enough to be able to want to do that, and they just want to live the simple life, right? However, what I've found is that most people, when they get to a certain point in life, that's their timing, something happens. So it's the old adage that if you can't do it for yourself, trust me, the universe steps in and does it for you. Say you're in a really nasty relationship and you just cannot break free. You cannot do it for yourself. The universe will step in. Either the other person will leave you, your house will burn to the ground, you got nowhere to go, or they drop dead. Something happens. The universe will step in. So for most people, if they're not in touch with their soul, at some point in life, something will happen. You know, our belief system is based on what we're taught or what we experience personally, right? Mm-hmm. So again, you know, I grew up in all different. I grew up in all different religions. My mother was searching like crazy, so I grew up Catholic, Episcopalian, Baptist, Protestant, Hindu. Born again Christian, spiritualist, all of these, because my mother was searching for answers. She was a medium. I had no idea. And when I trained, I ended up training at some of the places she had trained 50 years earlier, and they remembered her. So at some point in life, something happens to change your belief system. So now you're going to question everything. And trust me, when I died, there was no way I could not believe at that point. I died. I experienced this. This was like, there's nothing you can tell me differently. It was like, it's just crazy amazing. And since I've come back and I've been able to get in touch with my soul and the universe, the stuff that happens to me, the stories that I could tell you, you'd be sitting there with your jaw on the floor saying, oh my God, because this is what my life is now. When I ask the universe for something, sometimes it shows up so fast it's not even funny. And if I somehow start to lose my faith in something, they make darn sure that they reestablish my faith for me very quickly, one way or another. And this is what happens to a lot of people. Sometimes it happens when a child will get sick, or the death of a parent, death of a spouse, death of a child. Something happens. There's miracles that happen every day. You just have to have your eyes open to look. Something happens. Maybe it's a child that gets, has, uncurable condition, and somehow out of the blue, they don't know how it happened, but this child got cured. It happens. Something happens to everyone if you open your eyes and pay attention, because they're always trying to put you on your right path from the other side. I'll give you a great example. I teach people how to talk to angels. Angels are a separate race. They were never human. Their entire existence is to help us, but you have to ask. That's their rule. And they talk in binary code and numbers and symbols. So if you don't recognize that, you have no idea. And I'm sitting in traffic one day, feeling a little sorry for myself, saying, I haven't heard from anybody in, it's been days. I've gotten no messages. I've gotten, no songs on the radio, no nothing, right? And I didn't move in traffic, not 1 inch. And I looked to my left and I looked at the telephone pole first, and the number on the telephone pole was 5656, which is 1111, angel number. I look at the car in front of me. It had the initials of someone very dear to me on the license plate. I'm like, oh my God, okay. I look to the right, the mailbox, 333, Ascended Masters number. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's me. I'm just not paying attention. And that's most people. They don't pay attention. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to know. It's that simple.
How do you train to become a medium?
So I used to teach mediumship and development. And my first book, A Night on the Other Side, is everything that I taught in mediumship and psychic development class. And like I spoke to you earlier, it's kind of like learning how to walk, okay? Everyone is born with the ability to do it. You have to learn how to walk, and then you learn how to walk real well, and then some people learn how to run, and then some people learn how to be Olympic runners, right? It's also like playing the piano. Some people sit down, all they can do is chopsticks, right? You're listening to that little psychic ability somewhere, but it's just chopsticks. And then some people want to really apply themselves, so they practice meditation, they practice listening to the other side, they follow the directions, and some people learn how to play a couple songs. And then some people really apply themselves and become concert pianists. So the more you practice, the more you do something, the more information you're going to get, the more connected you're going to get. I'm like the child prodigy that sits down 6 years old and plays Mozart. My abilities are beyond most people's. And I attribute that to the fact that, quantum physics with the speed of light, right? It's 300 million miles a second. But when your soul goes into that speed of light and goes into heaven, now it came back into my body. My soul, my frequency is much higher than most people's already. So I attribute that to my ability to be able to connect to the other side so quickly. I can connect in seconds, literally. And it's practice. The more you practice, the easier it is. It's cumulative.
Do you do readings for people?
I do. I do Akashic Record readings. I do destiny card readings, which is astrology and numerology combined. It's extremely accurate. I do just regular psychic readings if they want. I work on all types of things. In fact, I did a missing person case a couple of weeks ago again. I've worked with police departments. I worked with paranormal groups. I've consulted on a lot of paranormal books that have been written. I do a wide array of different things, which makes my life very exciting. I never know what the day is going to bring, to be quite honest with you.
But that's all good, don't you think?
It's thrilling. It's thrilling. I don't always get feedback right away. Sometimes it's a long time, out of the blue. Sometimes I'll get a message from somebody. Oh my God, you were spot on. I met that guy when I was in somebody's house, and sure enough, we're getting married now. I'm like, oh my God, that was like a year ago. So sometimes I don't know, even on the missing person cases, sometimes, the person will wait a year to come for another reading with me. And they're like, oh my God, they found her exactly where you said she was going to be. She was kidnapped by non-custodial parents, whatever. But I don't always find out right away. Sometimes I find out later.
That's fascinating. Now, do you have an online course?
I do. It's the Relationship Mastery Program. It's a 7-week course. And I originally geared it towards people that were having difficulties in their relationships, separation, divorce, because those people are willing to invest in themselves more and actually do the work to make the change. Okay? It's like anything else. The universe only rewards you if you do the work. That's how it works. And what it does is it teaches you how to change your energy, how to see life from a different perspective, how to get in touch with your soul. And I only work with one person. So if it's a relationship issue, I don't work with the two of you, just one person. Because it only takes one person to change a situation. When you change, they change, right? For every action, there's an equal or a greater reaction. And if you're working with two people, all you're doing is getting two people to fight about each other. That's not helpful to anyone. And nothing changes until you change. It's that simple. So what happens with the program, if you do the work, you change your vibration, first of all. When you get in touch with your soul, you raise your vibration. And that's where the law of attraction kicks in. And then I teach people how to balance their energy, which is not very easy. And this is where people fail at the law of attraction, because when you have that high, if you can't maintain it, you crash, and then you lose the law of attraction very quickly. So I teach people how to balance that energy to maintain the law of attraction. And then the relationship, every relationship in their life, whether it's children, their boss, their employees, it doesn't matter what relationship it is, they all change so much. People are asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? And if it's a spousal relationship or something like that, first they're in fear because they don't understand the change, and then they're curious and want to know, why did you change so much? Things are really good. Why did this happen? So the progression of the program is the person that took the program from me, they're not allowed to put anyone else in the program, but I encourage them to teach the program to the next person. So they teach the other person the program. And I have people that now teach their children the program so that they don't have to go through the heartbreak of learning these lessons when they grow up. And that's part of the program. And that's what the book was written from, actually, because the hundreds of people that I put through this program, I learned they're all learning the same 5 soul lessons. And that's why I wrote the book, All's Fair in Love and Karma.
Thank you for listening. I hope you'll support this podcast by becoming a Bump 2 subscriber. Buy us a cup of coffee. It's your support that makes this podcast and website possible. I hope you found something in today's podcast that inspires you along your own life's path, because sometimes a bump in the road is actually a portal into a more conscious and meaningful life.